Hey, this is Zac.
And I'm Clint, and we wanted to thank Exo-terra for sponsoring this episode of Colubrid and Colubroid Radio.
Exo-terra is the industry leader in glass terrarium enclosures, and we are a big fan of getting to see the species we work with both at home and at the university.
We utilize Exo-terra caging here at Metazotics, and in addition to top quality terrariums, Exo-terra offers an array of heating options, lighting, supplements, decor, and truthfully anything needed or wanted when keeping reptiles.
Thank you, Exo-terra, for supporting Colubrid and Colubroid Radio. Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of Colubrid and Colubroid Radio. As always, Zac here, and my good brother from another mother, Clint, is here as well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing okay, my friend. How are you this fine evening?
I'm doing well. It's right after Labor Day weekend, and normally I work my ass off through the whole weekend, and I certainly did that to a certain extent. But this go around, I just decided to say, screw it. I'm going to sit on my butt for a little while. And that was well done. That was a necessary evil to ascertain. So I'm feeling better than I was last week, at least. How about you? Hey, Dex had some.
That's right.
A bit of a moment over Labor Day.
So we've had a great weekend. I mean, it was normally Wendy and I both work at the shop on Saturdays, or at most one of us will have a Saturday off. You know, we've kind of rotated with everyone, but this was one of those very rare occurrences where we both took the entire weekend off. Saturday, we went to my sister's house, had a big seafood boil. That was fantastic. Nice. You know, spending all day in the sun, eating it up. And then on Sunday, we went out to the property. Went out shooting all day, had a bunch of people come out, and certainly we America'd the hell out of it, man. I'm telling you. And we had, grilling out.
You have to use guns. In West Virginia, guns are an important part of every holiday, as well as Indiana and Northern Kentucky. So.
You got it. It was a great time. And as hopefully a lot of individuals on Facebook saw, my son Dex, he had his second successful snake flip, and it was under not the exact same tin that he found that big black racer under, but right next to it. That is his spot now. You know, he's hitting that quick. And to his credit, he wasn't waiting on me. He went over there by himself. And next thing I know, here he's coming with a 5.5 foot, gray rat snake that he grabbed. So I was pretty proud of him for that. That was a good time. I'll tell you what, that weekend wore us out. I mean, really? 2 days in the sun. And we had Wendy's sister and her boyfriend were in from Tennessee, and first time I was meeting her new boyfriend, and he and I hit it off great. I mean, we were nerds on all the same stuff. Liked, the shooting. We both loved going to the gym, and I mean, he's this big, stocky guy, and we're both like, oh yeah, Monday, man, we'll go get a good workout in. We're both hyped. Sunday night, we're both sitting there, and finally we admitted, oh, I'm so glad you don't want to go tomorrow. Because I'm so beat. And it's like neither one of us wanted to be the first one to say it, but as soon as one of us even hinted at it, it was like, oh, thank God. Just drained, going to bed at 8:30.
Nice.
But yeah, that was great. Then Monday, even though it was Labor Day, still came into the shop. You got live animals. You still have to keep things running, getting everything done. We had I've reached, we've nearly reached capacity in the nursery. Today I had to add 2 more racks in there just so I could separate the clutches that had hatched recently. And, good problem to have, but got that. And I mean, it's been a whole lot of moving, man, a whole lot of moving for sure. And then obviously with all the shows that are coming, just happened, as well as what's going on this month. It's been a hectic few days. There's no doubt.
I gotcha. Yeah, no. I've started pushing hard on the Hognose book. I got to read a lot before I can write. So I got about 3 months of reading and then 3 months of writing. And there's this kind of the Bible of Hognose natural history is by this guy named Platt. It's about 200 pages. It was written in his 60s. I've read this damn thing twice already, and my 45-year-old brain is not the same as my 40-year-old brain, and I can't freaking keep the crap in there. So I decided I'm going to read this thing one more time, outline it one more time, and hopefully I can get the stuff in there, because every single bit of natural history I'm going to be writing about, there's references to this. And so last week I decided I don't care what gets in my way, I'm getting through it. And so I got through it. I outlined it. This is very nerdy, by the way. And then I made a quiz as I was reading it to quiz myself. And I took the quiz today and freaking failed it. Like, failed it miserably. Just fell flat on my face. I was like, God,
I hope so many of your students are hearing this.
So I was just like, son of a bitch. So I went back and now I'm going over the notes. So yeah, I can say a lot of people told me your brain when you're 40 and your brain when you're 50 are like more different than your brain when you're like 2 and you're 18. And I'm feeling it, man. The other thing is, at this age, I find that I also just don't care. Like, I would take those questions and I would not know the answer. And I was like, oh, well. And so there's a weird motivational thing there that I don't quite understand. But yeah, so I'm going to be hitting that hard this week. I figure if I give it 2 weeks of my life, I can get Platt stuck up there permanently. But yeah, no, I was not proud of myself, but at the same time, I didn't care either. It was really weird.
It's funny.
Emotions.
You remind me of a quote, and I'm pretty sure it was Winston Churchill who said it. And it's funny because this is where we're at, in our age at the moment. It says, when you're 20, you worry about what people think of you. When you're 40, you no longer worry. You no longer care what people think of you. When you're 60, you realize no one was thinking about you in the first place. And so that's where we're at right now, my friends, where we just don't care anymore.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I did and I didn't and I did it. It was really bizarre. So anyway, so I am reading Hognose papers, but I won't let myself move on until I can pass this damn test I made for myself. So anyway, so yeah, that was my week. And then, I mean, we just recorded 1 week ago, even though you guys are all getting this, like, I don't know, 2 weeks apart. And
literally, we're recording the day that our episode just dropped.
Yeah.
The False Water Cobra episode just dropped a few hours ago. We're recording.
So I don't really have that much to report other than babies are going. I am trying something slightly different with the Speckled Kings and Outer Banks Kings this year. I have some lizards. I've been scenting with the lizards. The lizards aren't doing crap for them right now. So I've just decided that we're going to do mouse tails until they suddenly care about lizards, because I'm not giving up on these. These Harris County Speckled Kings are beautiful. They're that that deep orange yellow, and the parents are jet black. Like, they're beautiful, beautiful snakes. And last year, pretty much the whole clutch just crashed on me because they just decided that they would rather die than eat. And so this go around, I know we preach here, we don't feed them, we blah-de-blah. But this go around, I'm like, damn it, you're going to eat. So, and nobody looks like they're crashing, and everybody looks like they're stable, and nobody looks underfed. And it's weird. A couple of them, I can put the tail in their mouth, and then they'll grab it, and then I do the whole freeze for the next 5 minutes of my life. And they'll eat it voluntarily, but I can't get them to like look at a freaking pinky to save my life. And I've done everything. I actually thought about that. I have some of those quail from Jason Hood. He sent us.
Yeah, that's what worked for me.
Kept some of those around.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think about that. They're in the freezer. So Jason, we're going to give those quail another try.
Yeah, I just cut little bitty pieces of them down.
Go to Jason Hood. Hope you're still selling them, Jason. So anyway. But yeah, no, that's really it for me. I don't have much other than that.
Well, I'm sure we're going to have plenty of other things to talk about, though.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. So I figure we were going to do our typical things, but let's do Colubrid Fest now.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yep.
So Colubrid Fest, I'll let the cat out of the bag. It is September 3rd when we are recording this. So this may be different. But we are now in the time period that Mickey has told us as a show distributor or promoter, that basically he said there'll be like a lot of activity at first. There'll be this long area where nothing's really happening. And then beginning about 4 weeks out, we'll get this slow and steady increase of tables. And I know in the past 24 hours, we've gotten 3 to 4 new breeders that have committed, because I talked to all of them, and then about half of them said, "Are you involved with Colubrid Fest?" Which when people say that to me, I just am like, yeah, I'm a little bit. So
I've heard of it.
The same thing. Yeah. So we're kind of on the like second upswing. If you're listening to this, and this is why we're putting it first, and you are on the fence, just pull the damn trigger and go. Like, that's where we're at. Because it's going to be a great time. And it really didn't take that much convincing for me to convince 2 of the people that are coming to like pull the trigger. I think it took me less than 30 seconds, and they were like, yeah, I should do that. And then, but we know that there's a lot of people going. So the other thing that we're asking, and I don't know how to say this, and Clint here is my coach and being cool, calm, and collected when it comes to Colubrid Fest, because I'm not used to this being an academic. So there's been aspects of this where I'm like, what the hell? Why are people procrastinating so much? Anyway, but there's going to be hiccups. It's our first one, guys. So we are just thrilled that it's happening. So if you find an issue, like maybe paying for parking, we have a solution for that. If you have an issue with your hotel room, we have a solution for that. We have basically done everything in our power to figure out ways to get around things. We had to have the weekend that we had. We had to have it in the venue that we had, but that doesn't mean we'll be in that venue or that weekend in the future. But let's just kind of focus on the fact we get a Colubrid weekend, because that's what's really good about all this. And, we'll figure it out. So, yeah, I think I did that well. I'm going to stop talking right now.
I think you did great. It's when it comes to, just like you said, we're going to have hiccups. We're going to have bubbles. There's going to be things that we anticipated and we planned for. There's going to be things that we never even saw coming. It's just part of it. And honestly, there's not going to be any of us that walk away thinking, you know what, damn it, there's not one thing that could have been done differently. Because no, there's absolutely. But whenever I see someone complain about it being in Indianapolis, it's like, look, guys, let's be honest. We can't put it in everybody's backyard. It's just not possible. And my guess is you probably already have a show in your backyard because they're everywhere. But it's also probably the same shows that we're always complaining about because we're seeing the same damn things on the table all the time. This is what it's for. You can only do something special. You can't do something special everywhere, unfortunately, so just make the hike, get on out there. Let's have a good time. I think anybody who's listening to this show is already well aware of how Colubrid Fest is going to play out, because we've talked about it so many times. But I still see people asking about, are we selling the entire weekend? Is it? And it's not, because again, this is an event. It's not just a show, it's an event. And it's incredibly important to us that the educational piece doesn't get overshadowed by, a monetary aspect. And I think the design is sound. I think that it's really going to play out. Hopefully everyone has been online and seen where Zac has posted the speakers, posted that lineup. Our guest tonight is one of those speakers. Honored to have. We've got the Rob Zerkle himself. Been looking forward to this one. Rob's a good buddy.
Yep.
So, I think that the information's out there. By all means, I know, I don't know if you're still getting it, Zac, but I get messages pretty frequently about just small little questions on, hey, is this a thing, or does it happen that way? And I'm happy to answer. I understand that, not everything is clear and crisp out there is what we would like. And if that's the case, please, by all means, ask. I'm happy to answer.
Yep.
Just hope to see you there.
Yeah. And to reiterate, I don't want people to think we're upset, because we're not upset. It's
No.
We are trying our best to give you the best product you can get. And we understand that this is the inaugural Colubrid Fest. And we also understand that the first one will be different than the second one. But I can flat out tell you, we were talking about IHS before we came on. I just started going to IHS, and it's kind of awesome when you go to IHS and you have the people that have been there forever, and it's great. I love like kind of history, for lack of a better word, and I love listening to the people that were at the original IHS meetings, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we did this, we did that, it was crazy." And then now it's this like fine-oiled machine-ish, and we get to be part of that. So if you're on the first one, think about what it'll be like when you were going to the 5th and the 10th one, assuming that we last that long, which I'm pretty sure, given the fact that Clint and I don't quit, and Mickey's in this too, that there will be that. And if you have questions, let them rip. The schedule of talks is up. The only speaker we are waiting on is the presenter for the first talk, because I have a couple people in mind. And so we're, just kind of sitting here waiting for a definitive answer from one of them. Then I'll go to another one. But other than that, we have Sarah Moore coming in. She was a guest on the show. Kayla Martin, guest on the show. Rob and Amy Zerkle. Rob's a guest on the show today. Matt Most, former co-host of the show. And then trying to think. Oh, how could I forget? The one and only Chris Montross. He's been on the show. And then the only person who has not been on the show is Dr. Zac Loughman, and he actually reached out to us. And that's I am insanely happy that he did, because to have a reptile vet that's a practicing reptile vet and a herpetoculturalist, like he was us, guys.
Yeah.
And the fact he's talking about dystocia, egg binding, like I had 2 snakes get egg bound. If you breed colubrids and you breed them in mass, you will experience this. And I've already talked to Zac a little bit. I'm not letting cats out of bags here, but I know that people are going to walk away learning something from that one. And that's an important talk. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
It's going to be a good time.
One other piece, and I mentioned this on our last episode, and definitely need to reiterate it. And you'll start seeing more and more posts come out about it. Auction items.
Auction.
We are looking for individuals to donate for the auction. That's the only way the auction is going to be successful, is if we have things to auction off. So obviously, if you're coming to Colubrid Fest, whether you are a vendor or not, if you want to donate for the auction, we can certainly make that happen. If you'd like to contact me beforehand, metazotics@gmail.com, please do so. If it's not a live animal that you're bringing, or if you are not attending and there are things you want to donate, if it's not alive, you can ship it straight to the store. If you go to metazotics.com, it's going to have our address and everything right there. Please do so. Just make sure I've got your name, your company, your logo, anything that I can make sure that we give credit to who's donating please send that, and send it sooner the better, because, I have to load up early and make sure that we've got room for everything that'll kind of dictate what I'm driving. So,
yeah.
So please make sure that you get that in. If you're wanting to donate live animals, I need you to contact me beforehand so we can arrange shipping for pretty much the day before that I'll be heading out. But please do so so that we can make this successful.
Yep. All righty. I think we have successfully plugged Colubrid Fest. And the other thing is, if you are tired of hearing us talk about Colubrid Fest, you might be one of those people. I think that this is the last episode before the actual event.
Yeah.
So the next time you hear us speaking, it'll be post Colubrid Fest.
It'll be at Colubrid Fest.
Yeah, it'll be at Colubrid Fest. Let's be real. So, but yeah, we're still giving this the good old fashioned fight. So there you go on that one. Okay. So now we are going to move on to our science and market updates. So I'm going first. Science update sponsored by Rare Genetics Inc., who we are happy to have sponsor us. As a reminder, they're starting to look into colubrids, especially we believe corn snakes, hognose snakes, and other colubrids that have morphs, to be able to provide the genetic testing to let you know if the corn snake you bought is actually whatever it is you paid for. First, for them to do that, they need your sheds. So Please listen to that update that, the intro that they gave about how to process the shed material. In case you need a reminder, newer sheds are better than older sheds, and they only need a piece of shed that's about the size of a quarter. And those can be dried and then put into a Ziploc bag, and then you simply label the bag. You are more than welcome to bring those to Colubrid Fest, and we will then get them to Ben and Company at RGI. But at the same time, you can also ship them directly to them. And if you want to know the sex of your snake, by all means, if you don't have probes or you're questioning what the person told you it was, or you just don't know, you can get your snake sex with RGI, Colubrid's included, and they will take a bulk order for you. Speaking of this is actually a little aside. I literally told Clint, we got to get through the intro faster earlier, and now I'm derailing that. But this is hysterical to me. So Thursday of last week, I am in my office. I don't know where I am. I was somewhere, and I got like my phone starts going off. And so I look down and I read, found a baby snake, and we have this room called 301. It's where all of our zoo exhibits are. Baby snake on the floor in 301. So my initial thought was, damn it. One of them got out of our nursery. And then somebody else sends another student. I don't know what kind of snake this is. Then another student. I think that's a black rat snake. Now they got my attention because we didn't breed black rat snakes. So I was like, wait, what? And so, corn snakes, a dark corn snake can kind of resemble a black rat snake. Yeah. But the kid who said it was a black rat snake knows what he's talking about. It's Derek. I've talked about Derek before. So I said, send me a picture. So I was in a stupid administrative meeting that I didn't want to be in. Sorry, they're not stupid. If you're one of my bosses listening to this, they're worth going to. Anyway, so I got the picture, and sure enough, it is a freaking black rat snake. So we have 2 black rat snakes on exhibit that we thought were boys. So the obvious thing is somebody, this guy, stacks the snakes wrong. And I literally thought, I just talked about this on CCR. God, the universe is after me. So I immediately got out of the meeting, went straight to their enclosure. And I know the one's a male. There's no question. He is one of those giant 7-foot monster black rats that you have to be blind to not see that it's a male. And so I looked at the other one, who's still a big snake. It's like 5.5 footer. And I looked at the tail and was like, well, that looked like a male to me. So I probed it, and it went 9 scales deep. So I'm like, all right, now wait a minute. That one's a male. That one's a male. And then it took me a while to realize a freaking black rat snake laid a clutch of eggs in the roof of our science building or something, and the babies invaded because we found one. Then the next day they found 2 more. Sorry, they found another one. Then they found one on Saturday. Then they found one on Sunday. So I got to write an email today to all the professors in my science building explaining to them that A, we did not know about this. B, I did not plan this. And I've had 3 of them literally say to me, we don't normally swear, but they literally said, bullshit, you totally planned this. So that's like the running joke in the building. And that 3, it's like the greatest thing that's ever happened to me because I don't have to go looking for snakes now. They're now coming to me. So it's kind of amazing.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a little bit of science to that. So this is the science part because, snakes will home. There's lots of evidence that female snakes will aggregate to lay their eggs. And if you think about it, our science building back in April, May, and July, we produced over 600 eggs in that building. So anywho, but yeah, no, it's been really interesting. But I've sexed those damn black rats now 5 times because I like that is the easiest. Like that's Occam's razor. That makes the most sense. And it's absolutely not true. Like they're boys. So anyway, okay. So moving on to my science update. So the science update today is coming from the wonderful world of Facebook. And I hope, yes.
That's where we get all of our news, guys.
Yeah, that's where we get a lot of it. So, yes, I have a PhD. Go to Facebook to get all of your science. So, anyway, so here we have, this is one of those go interact with it updates, not necessarily a paper. So a wonderful herpetologist, I've mentioned her a couple times, Dr. Emily Taylor at California Polytech. She has been working for years to make this happen. And she's a bit of an inspiration to me because Emily is one of those scientists that gets an idea in her head, and then she doesn't necessarily have a direct funding stream to make her idea happen, but that doesn't stop her. And so she uses alternative means to make her idea happen. So she actually used GoFundMe and crowdsourcing for this. But there's this mega den out west of prairie rattlesnakes. And Emily's dream was to always just to get basically cameras set up on this den that have solar panels, so they have electricity that can be removed, that can be moved around remotely, and then basically spy on the snakes in real time. And I can tell you, as a scientist that studies animals, like, that's the best. And so she came up with this idea, and she's made it come to fruition. So if you have social media, I highly recommend you go on Instagram, you go on Facebook, and you like Project Rattlecam, and you give this thing a look. And there's also a website. So we're going to look at the website here in a minute. But basically what they've done here is they have put up these cameras, and then she has her students and grad students spying on rattlesnakes all the time. And so you're able to create these things called ethograms, which is a way to classify behaviors and actually watch these snakes all the time. And what's crazy is anybody listening to this can see these rattlesnakes in real time. So the Facebook page, they're obviously promoting it. So here, this was done 11 hours ago. Furniture makers, here's your inspo for the comfiest couch ever. And we have a prairie rattlesnake with one of her neonates on it. And one of the reasons why they wanted to do this is to document this crazy behavior we've talked about on here a bunch, where you have neonate rattlesnakes that are basically being born, and there's a lot of evidence of there being the snake version of parental care. And so by having the cameras up there, you don't have people up there, you're able to get all these really cool behaviors. So, you know, there's one of those, and then there's comments. Here's another example. It's hot and dry out at the snake den, and shade is a limited resource, leading to baby snakes huddling in balls. So you can see here a bunch of these baby rattlesnakes. But the really cool thing, I don't know if this will switch, it will not, is that you can actually go to the website. So give me a second, and we're going to share that website here. So give me that. And so this is the actual website. And if you look at this, this right here is live. So that is one of the little baby rattlesnakes, dead center. It's thick and shed. They just moved the camera. So there's somebody looking at this right now, moving the camera, which is, I couldn't have asked for more. There's some females there. So obviously you can't see this if you're not watching the YouTube video. So sorry for the folks listening in the car. But, right now on our podcast, we have this crazy interspecific behavior between two adult rattlesnakes. So if you're bored sitting at home and you just want something up on your screen, you can totally put this up on your screen and be watching rattlesnakes in situ out in the wild in real time. That's what I've done. There's been 4 or 5 days where I was like, oh God, people. And I have literally gone to Project Rattlecam and just stared at the rattlesnakes for about 50 minutes, got my moment of snake zen and back. But keep an eye on this. This is brand new. They just set the cameras up this year on this particular den. And there's going to be paper after paper after paper that Emily's going to write. And I am proud to say that I have one paper I co-authored with Emily, and it was the rattlesnake attitudes towards rattlesnakes and trying to figure out how to make a good snake message so people don't hurt them. Emily was one of the co-authors on that. So that is the science update, Project Rattlecam, and this website is rattlecam, RATTLECAM.org. So go give it a gander. All righty. And I'm really proud of how quickly I was able to do the slides there. That was pretty slick for us. Now you get to go.
Okay. All right. I actually have 2 updates. First we're going to hit the typical market update, and then we'll call it a CCR market, update on some big news that we have going. So let's move through the slides and typical update. Now, as always, the market update is sponsored by the Show Me Reptile Show. Please hop on showmereptiles.com and see the whole list of shows for the rest of the year. You can find out anywhere they're going to be, see how close they're going to be to you, because I can promise there's going to be one. So again, check out Show Me and check out Show Me Marketplace. Okay, well, let's look at a little bit of change here. So a lot of things stayed typical trends on what we're looking at, and we also saw the trend that we were expecting. So still expecting for the numbers of animals listed to continue to climb. There was one that surprised me, and I'll get to that in just a second. But as far as overall species that are listed snake-wise on Morph Market, we've got ball pythons coming in at 72%, colubrids at 14%, boas at 11%, other pythons at 3%. Those numbers are staying pretty steady for the most part. We don't get a whole lot of movement there. The colubrid breakdown, still kind of seeing what we were seeing before now too. We've got hognose at 35%, corn snakes at 29%, all others at 36%. And again, we continue to see the all other category over here continuing to dominate and become a little bit bigger out of those three. Because if you recall, I think that was as low as maybe 14 to 18% at one point. But whenever you have hatchling season and you have all those different species hatching out, then that's when we see this bulk. So as far as the change, ball pythons, we saw over 1,700 more ball pythons listed. And that was just in a week, because we were recording last week. Pythons, all other pythons, this number is what surprised me. 700 fewer. So there were a ton that moved or pulled off or something, but that number was a big change. Boas increased 72, colubrids increased 426. So we saw a total of with that 700 coming out, a 1,547 snake increase compared to last week. Colubrids, there were a total of 7,084 listed, 79 more corn snakes than last week, 170 more hognose, and 177 more of all others. The graph is continuing to flow just as we expected, where we saw our lowest point right there in July, and then boom, it started to hop. And this is, of course, going to have ball pythons as well as total. And really, whenever ball pythons are taking up 72% of the market, those graphs those lines are going to pretty much stay on point with one another. The colubrids, same thing, except we're seeing a much faster incline, than what we were seeing on ball pythons. Really, all three of the categories we track as far as colubrids are staying moving and staying increasing. But we went from a low point of about 4,500 colubrids listed to we have now cracked over 7,000. And that's the highest number we've seen in colubrids listed since we started tracking this back in February. So we are definitely peak season. And, like I say, we're at peak season. That means peak availability. So this is the time to get out there and look, because this is when you find, a lot of what you're after, and just in time for Colubrid Fest. So that's really good too.
It's like we planned it, Clint.
Okay. So another big piece here. I'm going to swap this over here so I can look at it as I'm talking. Zac and I have been talking about this for quite some time, working on it for quite some time. Just got a kick in the pants tonight because we've just learned that half of the effort that we put in got wiped out when we swapped the streaming company source product that we utilized. But we still decided that we wanted to stick on our timeline. And so with that in mind, we are now wanting to announce that our Patreon is officially live. And there will be a Facebook post that's going up. You'll see the Facebook post before you hear this episode. So this episode is going to come out afterwards. because in fact, the first perk for our Patreon is going to happen, I think, a week from now, September 11th. So this episode is going to come out after that. But here's how it works. So we have, I believe it is 4 tiers for paid membership on our Patreon. And we kind of want to walk you guys through that. The first is a supporter tier. That's $5 a month. Every month we're going to give a member shout out to on our CCR Facebook page for all of the those in the supporter tier. And basically that's going to be for those of you out there that just want to support the show, help us with equipment, things like that. $5 a month, and we greatly appreciate it. Next, we have a contributor tier, and that's $10 a month. The contributor tier will get the same shout outs each month that the tier before it does. They are going to get access to 2 CCR shorts each month. And as a reminder, what a CCR short is these are episodes that Zac and I have recorded. It's just the 2 of us. And we pick a topic that we don't feel really is justified by a 2-hour long episode. We go into it with the mindset that these should be 20 to 30-minute episodes. But so far, they've all been 45 an hour. Because I don't know if you guys have ever heard either one of us before, but we seem to like to talk. So we certainly have gotten deep into these. Now, these are designed to come out on the off weeks. So CCR episodes come out every other week. The week in between CCR episodes are when the CCR shorts will be released on Patreon. So if you want to have some content every single week, this is for you. Next, we have a $15 a month contributor fashion model tier. You're going to get all the perks of the tier before. So the shout outs, the 2 CCR shorts, but you will also, after 6 months of membership, you will get a free CCR t-shirt that we will ship out to you. We're hoping that every 6 months we will have new t-shirts. So it's not going to be just the same one every 6 months, but we can continue to update you with a new shirt, every 6 months for your continued membership. And finally, we have a $25 a month collaborator tier. That's going to get you the shout outs. It's going to get you the 2 CCR shorts. It's going to get you the shirt after 6 months. It's also going to get you a 10% discount on Metazotics.com. So that's animals, that's supplies, whatever you want. You're going to get a 10% discount there. And once a month, all of the collaborator tiered individuals will be invited to a Zoom video call with Zac, myself, and the other members, in which we call this the collaborator level because basically we're looking to talk with this group on ideas for the show, what topics, what guests, things we need to hear more of, less of, and really help us brainstorm and kind of talk about the direction that the show is going to go and anything that we want to have and to bring on. So those are the tiers. And of course, you can hop on Patreon and all that's going to be listed out. So don't feel that you have to remember it from this one episode.
Yeah.
However, please hop on, join. It's all of this is going to help us continue to do more and more for CCR. And, again, as a reminder, what we're looking to do, 1, we want to upgrade equipment. 2, we would like to be able to travel to different areas in the country for field herping, to visit certain shows and venues throughout the country that normally Zac and I would never be able to go to, so that we can meet more of the listeners and bring more tailored content, to the listeners. And then finally, we really, really want to continue to participate in conservation. And so we want to be able to have the funds to make a difference, in that arena. And that's what all this is going to. So please check us out on Patreon, Colubrid and Colubroid Radio. I think those are my updates. Thank you, sir.
You did a good job on that. All right. Okay. So we're about to bring the one, the only Rob Zerkle on. But before we do that, I need to say that this guy and his wife, Amy, were pretty much the first. Those two were the first big names in herpetoculture that I really kind of interacted with. Probably around 2018, I think. I don't know, 2019. It was before the pandemic. And consider them mentors. I love them to death, and it's a sin that we've gone this long without having them on. So the fact that Rob's coming on tonight it's a pretty big deal for me, and I know it's a pretty big deal for you. So
absolutely.
I don't know if we can make Rob blush. That's hard to do, but but anyway. So without further ado, we have Rob Zerkle, and what we're going to be talking about tonight, because I don't know if we talked about it yet up to this point, is one of the snakes that Rob is absolutely known for, which are Chinese, and probably more so than Chinese, Taiwan beauty snakes. I know that I have gotten Taiwan beauty snakes off of Rob. So with that being said, welcome to CCR, Rob. How you doing?
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, Rob.
Well, I do have to read something real quick that my wife makes me read when she's not around. The views and opinions expressed in this interview are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of any entities they represent, the moderators, or the host of this program.
All right. Well, Amy's a smart woman.
I love that woman.
Yes.
All right. Cool. So, yeah, I guess we could start in the beginning. So, I know a bit of your backstory, but how did you end up being the herp nut that you are today?
Well, we when we got married, which is 40 years ago next year, wife had always wanted an independent pet shop. And so her family bought a small independent pet shop for her that I'd been selling fish to since I was 12 years old. And there was a pair of boas on display that we accidentally bred. And this was probably back in about 83, somewhere around 83. And something had gone on with common boas at that time where they weren't importing them, be it an embargo or whatever it was. And we're sitting here starving independent pet shop people going, Jesus, what are we going to do with all these? We were selling boas for like $40 out of the pet shop, and here we are with like 30 of them. What are we going to do with all these things? And I talked to a fish guy who put me in touch with a reptile dude down in Florida who put me in touch with Lloyd Lemke out in Visalia, California, and that was basically what got it started. Then in about 1988, we caught wind of the reptile swap meet up in at that time Millersport, Ohio, and that's where I came to get so tight with Don Hamper, and those are pretty much my two mentors. But before I met Don, probably in about the mid 80s, I actually saw my first beauty snake, and oddly enough, it was a Ridley rat, and it came from an outfit. It came from an outfit called Pet Farm, and they were calling it some mystical Malaysian bat-eating bullshit, something or other. And I remember that snake as vividly today as the day I saw it. Now, it probably perished because back in the 80s, we were just learning. I mean, cutting edge reptile accessories back in that time were Gredgel hot rocks and iguana harnesses, and that was just about all we had.
Yeah.
And but it was it was a really blue head, paper white body, charcoal stripes, and that animal has never left my mind from this day on. So that's why they're one of my favorite animals as well. And then I used to breed a lot of boas. I used to breed a lot of carpet pythons, one of my favorite snakes. I've kind of run the gamut on stuff. And in about 2006, which is something a lot of people don't want to talk about, we got wrapped up in the bus that they had here in Columbus at the swap meet in Columbus. And most people don't know, but at that time I had every animal that I had under the table, and I was getting out of it. I was bored, and I was getting out of it. And ODNR kind of changed everybody's plans that day. And I kind of thought, well, this must be, I've always had Asian stuff, and there's just a smattering here and there and yonder, not a ton of it. And we kind of recently moved to Ohio. I had 3 young kids, not a lot of room, working in a 1-car garage. I'm trying to keep half of it warm for boats, half of it cool for old worlds. And I just said I was tired of jamming square pegs into round holes, and I was just going to work with what I liked. And that's when we went so heavy into the old world stuff. And just recently, kind of backhandedly after a catastrophe on Christmas Eve a couple years ago, I've since opened up a second room, which is a warmer room, one that will keep warmer all year long. So now I've been able to get back into some of the species I got out of, like the Baron Eye and a lot of the Pitus, and just pulling together a group of jewel racers now. And
I saw that.
So,
I saw that. Good luck with those, bud.
Well, they'll die. They're imports, but I mean, I'll eventually, I'll mess with them a little bit and find me some captive born ones. But I mean, I talk all the time to people like, when you don't see anything, and we didn't see those things for years, never was been in a hobby that I've ever seen. And then in here in the last 2 to 3 years, it's like the floodgates have opened on them.
Yeah.
And they're dirt cheap. They're just like Jansen's rats. They're dirt cheap. And everybody that's had them or killed them doesn't want to buy them anymore. And they're going to be one of those that's going to disappear, and I hope that a lot of people out there have gotten a group of them together. And then 10 years, people are going to go, you know what I don't see anymore? Are those jewel racers that used to come out. And so, and that's, for me to get into a project, there's only got to be about 3 or 4 people in the U.S. to give a shit about it. And that's the project I want to breed. So,
yeah.
Well, and I mean, it'd be nice to know that there's a captive population that's producing captive bred babies, and it's also, like you said, you've got to start with wild caught. When it comes to, a new species, there's just no way around it. The mortality rates are going to be high, but that's how we get them introduced into the hobby in the first place, is whenever somebody decides to pony up, get several, take the risk, take the loss, and hopefully if they've got 8, 3 of them make it.
Yep.
And
it was just like the Flavelliniata, the black copper rats. It took me years to get enough of them to live to do anything with them. And I'd tell people I'd buy 12, 6 of them would go right in the trash. A half of them would cling for a while. 2 of them would wind up surviving and doing well, and they'll both be males. That's just how it works. But you have to understand that before you go into it. You have to know that you're doing this, and then you produce a little cute baby that nobody knows what it is, but
and to the listeners to understand too, it's having experience with wild caught animals comes into play here. Yes, you need to go into it understanding there's going to be significant loss, but also it really helps going into it knowing how to treat and handle wild caught animals, and
understanding you're going to take a loss. You're going to take a hit if you can't afford to, to play the game. You collect stamps, but that's just part of it. But for me, I think that's one of the things, and I'm not going to dive too much into it because of Colubrifest coming up, but I think that's what differentiates the older hobbyist from the new people. I have to have a challenge. I'd like to try something different. There's not a whole lot that comes in very often in the Asiatic line or European line that gets us interested. And so you have to go out there and try something. And you might try it, and you might breed it, and you might go, that's okay, and then get rid of it, which I've done that with plenty of species. And or it might wind up being something that you gravitate to and cling to with death until you're out of it, which is where beauty snakes are to me.
And it's funny because I think I said this on an episode too, where some of the young ladies that worked there with Zac that came to the shop, they had asked me what my favorite species was. What's your favorite species? And I go, I don't know if colubrid keepers, not all, but in general, if colubrid keepers have a favorite species. And I say that because I can tell you what I'm really into right now.
Right. Exactly.
And in 6 months, in 2 years, it may be something different. And it's something different now than it was 2 years ago. You know, and that's just kind of, it's not that I necessarily don't like whatever it was anymore, but there's so much variety out there.
Oh, sure.
That it's, you start going, this is really cool. And now this has my interest for a while. This is what I want to learn more on.
I have a tendency. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. You do it.
I have, well, false water cobra's got to take them out. They're my beauty snake. Everybody knows that. But I have a favorite king snake. I have a favorite rat snake. I have a favorite garter snake. I have a favorite old world. Like, so that's the way. I think that colubrid keepers that are into this for diversity, that's one of the things we love the most about it. But then within each of the genera or each of the groups or whatever, I have a favorite. And so it plays to my herpetocultural ADHD very nicely. So,
many years ago, I used to work with a lot of coach whips and glossies and long nose. I love glossies and long nose. I don't know why. I've never found one in the wild. They're just something I'm naturally attracted to. Never mind Skinwalker back there.
Yeah, I see that.
It's White's hairless cat. It's got another name, but I call it Skinwalker.
Well, okay. Thanks for keeping it clean.
I do what I can. But I moved them on out because you know, I was going with a cooler room and I didn't think I could do them justice. And in Schaumburg, as a matter of fact, my friend says, "Hey, did you see this snake over here?" And I went over there, and it was one of those black and white phases, the long nose. And I was like, "Holy shit, I gotta have that animal!" And I got it, and it's downstairs in the room. And I usually do very well with long nose, and it's eating like a champ. So now I got to find more black and white ones. And my wife pulls the tub open and goes, "Oh God, not these again!" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, heck yeah." But and you kind of do that. You'll get out of stuff, get back into it, and you know, or something will flip your switch, and you're back into it. So
yeah. Now I'm just curious. Now, Amy takes care of the babies, right?
That's correct.
That's what I thought. I remember hearing that.
And garters. I do not claim garter snakes.
Gotcha. And what's Amy's favorite group or favorite type? I'm just curious.
She likes the garters. She's pretty hot and heavy with her garters. She enjoys them. You know, they're way more time consuming than I have time to give them.
Yeah.
So, and I actually made her, we moved a lot of the larger baby birthing groups out because, you know, one year we got, I bet she had 500 baby garters, and we lost, and she was down there every day, 2.5, 3 hours, just doing baby garters, and we lost our ass. You know, you can't keep up with them, and they're all not meant to live anyway. But you just can't keep up with them all. So we moved a lot of our red sides out, you know, because they have, you know, 70 babies, size of a match, and you know, and we got rid of a lot of those, and so you know, she's gotten very deep into the Oregon red spots, which I think are one of the best garters out there. Cali red sides, which everybody can have. I have no use for those, but she has a few of those. Western blacknecks, a couple little odds and end projects, but we're not near as deep as we are. But I don't see her ever not having garters, and that's fine as long as they're in her room and away from my stuff.
And I can see why that would be someone's favorite. It's the babies, pain in the butt. But once you know you've got them on a what's called a sized prey item that makes keeping easier. I mean, is as alert as those things are, as inquisitive as they are,
they don't miss nothing.
No, I can see why someone would really be into them.
My son is a 350-pound power lifter, and he is scared shitless of snakes. And,
how the hell did
that happen? I have no idea. But he was down in the room one time when she had all of your hordes of them down there, and he goes, "Mom, it's weird. They're all watching it. It's creeping me out." And there's nothing that they miss when you come in the room. That's for sure.
Gotcha. That's wild. Well, we lost Zac temporarily, everyone. Hopefully he'll be bouncing back on, but we'll keep things rolling.
Might have been Black Rat.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, something messing with the signal there. All right. Well, now I lost Rob. At the moment, it's just me. So I think Zac's back. Okay. We lost you, Zac, and then we lost Rob. So.
Oh, dear. Okay. Well, those who know the podcast know this is par for the course. So
we can't make it through a whole one without.
I am thrilled to death someone made it through, because I thought, oh God, here we go. So we just got to get Rob on here, so bear with us. And we will see what happens. So here we go.
Well,
okay.
While Zach's doing that, I will share a quick little bit. So many of you may remember that we did an episode on Carinata, Chinese king rat. So we've got Rob back. Okay. There we go.
What's up?
Okay.
Boom.
Okay.
Right. Brief intermission for everyone.
I'm only a little bit butt puckered still. So we're
all right. Well, I was taking a quick sidestep to tell a story while we lost you two. So, we did a previous episode on Carinata for everyone listening, Chinese king rats, in which, Zach kind of talked to me because obviously that's something I work a lot with. But I want to let everyone know, where did I get my very first pair? From this man right here, from Rob at a Tinley show. I got a pair of albinos because at the time I had no idea what they turned into, but I knew those normals looked like ugly little olive turds. And why would I want that? I want this yellow one instead. Little did I know how much, the normals grew to be something gorgeous, but,
oh yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rob. Now I think I've got 16 of those.
You can't have enough Carinata.
Well, and apparently I couldn't even have babies this year because none of them went for me.
No, we got to work. We got to work on that. I think I got another couple of clutches hatches down there now. So we had a very good Carinata year this year.
This was my just completely bomb year on those.
My rhinos snapped it off in me this year, but most all the big stuff did pretty well.
I think I just stopped pairing them too early.
Too early?
I thought at this point everything's got to be gravid, and I was wrong on those. So, but that's okay because hell, I'm out of room anyway. I just had 3 Blue Beauty clutches, 2 Taiwan clutches, all that.
Nice.
So there's plenty of babies back there.
Throw them together before you bring them up.
I'll probably try that again. Yeah.
All right.
So
let's segue over to beauty snakes here. So before we go into their care, let's just talk about, because I've heard you talk about this and I think it's really cool. Where your stock came from, how you got your first Taiwans, and how that led. I think you got Taiwans first, or did you get the Chinese first? I don't remember.
I had Taiwans first. Well,
yeah, that's right.
I had bought a couple albino Chinese off of food markets back in the very early 90s. But I got, and I didn't have super good success with them. The Taiwans were the first that I got and had really good success with. And that was probably about 93, 94. And I had a friend of mine who was a keeper at the Columbus Zoo. And Columbus Zoo, at the time, I think they got the Bean Award for radiated rats, red-cheeked mud turtles, and I think they might have got it for Taiwans. And we wound up doing a deal, and I got his trio of breeders that he had raised out of the zoo stock, and just stunning animals. And I can still track most all of my animals back to those original Columbus Zoo stuff.
Very cool.
Very nice.
And they got what I look for in a Taiwan. Everything about them.
So what do you look for in a Taiwan? And I'm going to put a picture of one of yours up real quick.
Oh, okay. Make it an ugly one.
Maybe I'm going to put one up. There we go.
Post.
Is that an ugly one?
Yeah.
No, that's a.
All right, I didn't think it was.
No. What I like in the Columbus Zoo line, or Taiwans in general, my wife will tell you I'm the worst self-promoter. Just in Taiwans in general, I like heavy black, cross barring, more defined H pattern, the better. If you look on that animal, it's got a light area in the neck, and then it goes down the sides of the animal, so it's much lighter down the side, and then a really nice dark flank with the white Y's in the side. That's what I look for, and I can usually pick them out. And I've got some stunners and nobody's probably going to see them because I'm probably going to keep them all. But you can usually tell as babies. But the beauty snakes are something that I tell people they're like koi fish. You have to give them time. When they're babies, they don't look like much. It doesn't matter what you get; they just don't look like much. They need about a year or so to develop. And I actually sold a male in New York a couple years ago that I raised up, and then realized I didn't need it. And the minute I opened that box and gave it to that guy, I'm like, why in the hell did I bring this animal? It was absolutely stunning. Now I keep hoping that he calls me and wants to get rid of it. I'd like to have it back. But yeah, that's a very nice, in my opinion, a very nice Taiwan.
Yeah,
and so when you work with stuff like, if you have an interest with stuff like this, and like I said, I'm not a self-promoter. The only thing that I can really suggest to people, and I don't care if it's me or Clint or anybody, go to people who breed this stuff. When you deal with flippers, or you deal with people that get stuff overseas, you deal with people that didn't produce the animal, you have no guarantee what that animal, one, has in it, or what it's going to look like. And beauties are, you get what you pay for in most instances with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Taiwans are gotta be, well, I say the only beauty snake that I don't like is the one that I don't own. But the Taiwans have got to be in my top 3 species or subspecies that I'll have when I tell people when I don't have them, that's when I'm retired from the hobby.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of them myself. This was my first year producing Taiwans.
Taiwans are great.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that it's kind of neat because with the various beauty species that I've worked with now, and it's something I'm kind of wanting us to get into a little bit here. There's subtle differences that you end up picking up in some of their personalities and traits. And it's so, like, for me, Chinese beauties are what I describe as, next to like cockeye, next to bamboos, Chinese beauties they're probably even better starter Asian snake. You know, it's what I tell people. If you're getting into Asians and just want to kind of learn, because the Chinese aren't going to get unmanageable. They tend to have a little softer demeanor compared to some of the others. You've got all the color palette, to go play with as well.
Closest thing we got to corns.
Exactly. And so I think that's a great starter. And I think that the Taiwans, at least in the ones I have, they are a little bit more of a mild temper compared to some of the others, a little bit better disposition, but you're going to deal with a bigger snake, than the Chinese. And so you be prepared for that.
The Taiwans are usually what I usually steer people to as your starter beauty snake, because they got such a mild disposition. They get nice size, but not too big. They can live in a whole host of different caging, and we may as well get it out there. I am a tubber. I've tubbed my entire career. I have only in my warm room with some of my bigger stuff do they have some caging. But my stuff is kept in oversized cages. So if you really want to have a miserable beauty snake, jam it in something small and overheat it. Yeah. And it's going to tell you just how unhappy that it is. But the Chinese, I think a lot of the Chinese
up here now.
Yeah, a lot of the Chinese beauties, which is what's there. And I actually just lost that animal this spring. That was their last clutch, and you see there's a number of bad ones in there. That animal was 19 years old.
Wow.
When she laid that clutch there. And as you can see with most Chinese, when you look at the pictures, they're a little more muted in color. The black is not as defined, but the pattern, the eye slash, the mid-body clear, the break in the pattern, and the striping in the tail is all very similar to the Chinese. But I'm going to be coming out with a line of Chinese that everybody out there is going to tell me I put Taiwans with, and they're going to be so mistaken because it's a morph that Clint probably knows that I've beat my head against the wall to try to get established in this hobby. And next year will be the first year that I'll be able to breed the hets back to visuals.
Nice.
But the hets of the sun glows are absolutely mind blowing. Something about that sun glow gene has just exploded the yellow in their back. And I look at them every day. I'm like, God damn, there's actually a pretty Chinese beauty. But
yeah.
But the Chinese, a lot of I think their personality is how you keep them, and as a keeper, there's nothing that I do that is carved in granite. And I got a bunch of racks in at one point in time from a guy that got out of ball python breeding, and I needed them for Chinese beauties, and they were like a freedom breeder CB70s, opaque tubs. Every time I pulled those things open, them Chinese beauties went wah and ran. They beat the head against the wall because they couldn't see any movement. I mean, that's part of the rack system. They can't see any movement. And so I got rid of all those racks and got any rack that I get now has got to have a clear door on it. I really don't like solid clear racking unless it's most all my stuff is in either Freedom Breeder 808 male boa racks or the Cambro restaurant boxes. So even in the racks, they have a certain amount of protectability because they're in the back. It's dark, you know, because the rack, but the front is clear. So any movement that goes on in my room doesn't shock them. They see it. And I noticed that the personalities of the Chinese, they became more like Taiwans when they could see. I mean, I could go down there right now, and I guarantee everybody's begging at the front of the glass when I'm walking through. You know, so I do see that. I do think caging has something to do with them. But back to Taiwans, you know, if you just want one snake and you want to have a big display type of caging for them, it's in your living room. It's like an aquarium. You want something pretty. You don't want something utilitarian. Taiwans are fantastic because they don't tank your stuff over. They won't tear your stuff up. They're quite a bit arboreal if your stuff's strong enough to support them. I've had some people tell me they have Taiwans in an 8 foot and 8.5 foot range. Mine have never gotten that big. Mine are solid 7s, about as big around as your forearm, and I've got some down there that are, I don't know, probably pushing about 20 years old. So I think they're not going to get any bigger. But you know, everybody's like blue beauty. I'm like, you're going to hate them. You know,
I can't help it. I love them. They're just because to me they're probably like, again, I can appreciate every beauty snake for its difference. You know, it's, you know, Ridley, oh gosh, you know, you get the Cameron Highlands, you get the Malaysian, you know, and I can appreciate both. But the blue beauties, it's just something about that blue, that slate gray. Whenever you have one that really shows it as an adult, and now, don't get me wrong, they're complete assholes.
They're an asshole. And I just posted some pictures of some hatch and said they were het for asshole.
That's 100%. I mean, I only have one blue beauty in a tub right now. That's not a, you know, hatchling, but and every time I open it, you know,
I got the mother to this clutch. It just hatches that way. That animal hates my guts.
Yep. And anytime I'm having to move, you know, like a female to the male's cage, anything like that for breeding. Oh yeah. In fact, I took a video for RGI for Rare Genetic Inc.'s podcast. This was months and months ago. And just they kind of, you know, wanted me to do a little talking on why we do what we do, you know, kind of thing. And so I'm holding, they're like, you know, and hold a snake, hold, you know, one of your favorites. And I'm like, I'll hold a blue beauty. And so I've got this blue beauty, and this thing was pissed from the moment I got it out. And it's just, now it wasn't like open mouth displaying at me, but it's doing that slow tongue flick, you know, just eyeballing me. And so I'm doing all this talking and I'm trying to be my normal self, you know, but I can't move my body because I'm going to get thumped if I do. You know And so, and I told Kayla that afterwards. I said, that thing was wanting to light me up the whole time I was talking. And then I had like a good 150 feet walk through the building to get it back to the area afterwards. And every step, it's just getting more and more angry, you know, as it's bobbing. But I can't help it though. I love those things. Now, given none of mine have reached that, you know, 10 to 12 foot mark yet, I'm still, you know, I'm about they're deceptively long though.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I have people that'll tell me, they're like, oh, I got a male blue beauty that's 10 foot. I'm like, shit, that's average. 10 foot's average. I mean, I had the biggest male that I'd ever seen that was 12'6". But it doesn't, you know, when you tell people they're 12'6", they're thinking berm. And I'm like, no, it's happy as a lark in this boa cage. It's like making a 12-foot piece of spaghetti look threatening. They're not very big.
Well, and that's like, because when I was looking at, you know, some of them, again, like when moving a female to a male's cage, I'm thinking, they're probably in the, you know, 6 foot range. You know,
they just keep coming.
Yeah, you keep pulling out. It's like, you know, like a clown pulling out handkerchiefs. You know, just more and more snake. Like I said, they're just deceptively long. You don't realize how much is there until you start uncoiling them.
But I sell a lot of them, and a lot of people think, oh, they're tame as kittens, and they watch TV, and I'm like, that's great, because mine will chew you up, you know. But I don't mess with them either. I mean, I've probably got like 70 beauty snakes. I don't mess with them other than just maintenance and cleaning. So you know. But now we got the Grabowski eye we're playing with, and some
I've got a
different
pair
stuff.
myself.
I think they're more like Ridley eye myself.
Oh, I don't really see much difference at all, to be honest, as far as their behaviors. No, I mean, they're pretty. I like them, but yeah, that's their behavior completely. And I mean, I will say my Ridley eye they are just as much of an a-hole, or if not more, than the Blue Beauties. So
mine, other than eating, you know, mine are all really easy going. I mean, if I survive the first entrance into the cage, I'll survive. You know, I'll live. They're pretty chill when I get them out. But the Grabowski eye, they hate my guts too. They're another one.
I'll tell you, it's funny you say that as far as the eating, because that's one thing that Steve, who takes care of the collection here, he chuckles at, because if you walk past the Ridley eye cage, certainly if you undo the doors, it just opens its mouth.
Yeah.
It's not striking. It's just like, just put it in.
And
just put it in.
And they are, and beauty snakes can be deceptively fast. I mean, I have a large snow Chinese female that teaches me every time I'm in there, if I'm not quick enough, why I do not mess and never have messed with venomous. Because she will come from the other side of the cage and hit me every single time. And then we got to go to the sink and get her off, and then I give her a wrap. She's happy. But
well, and just today, while moving some hatchlings, you know, talk about how fast they are. It's and given there certainly would have been easier ways to do this, but whenever I'm separating a clutch, I go through and, you know, I've got the clutch number for the ID system, but I'll go through and I'll sex the entire clutch, and I'll put all the males in one tub, all the females in another tub. And that's just my like tubs to separate them while I'm doing this. Then I'll take that tub and I go separate, you know, okay, I got the tub of males, separate the males into their own tubs, give them their own cards. So today I'm walking over with about 5 or 6 Blue Beauties in this tub to go separate them. And I swear they had springs in their asses, because it was pew, pew, pew. And I'm catching it.
Well, I had a similar thing with king rats. I had a clutch of it's probably one of my bigger clutches of king rats. There's like 16 in this clutch. And I had kind of gotten a little tight on egg boxes. So I put some leucistic Texas rat eggs in with them, because I'm like, I should be able to tell the two apart. So when we were away on vacation last week, all these king rats hatched out, and they were in a little wad. And there were a couple leucistic Texas rats that had slid eggs, and it's like they were sitting there like trying to second guess their life choices, if they should come out of these eggs or not. So I went on ahead and I made the mistake of grabbing the wad of Carinata, and it was on. They were everywhere. I was throwing them in the box. They were jumping right back out. I had Carinata everywhere. So I know exactly what you're talking about. When it comes to babies, for me, like the way I pull babies, I have some stupid, unfounded theories on how I do stuff. And I personally think now, the way that I don't know if it's the way that I do eggs or what, because I don't say that snakes are a temperature sex determinant animal, but I'm inherently high female on most anything that I have. And so, and I think that is a possibly inheritable trait as well. So when I have Ridley eye or something like that, you know, and I'm generally always high girl in there, if I feel I got to keep some, I have wife set them up, put them in a box. She usually keeps them all together until they shed. Once they shed, throw a handful of mice or whatever in there. If I want 6, I want the first 6 that eat. I don't even sex them. I don't even give shit. Now that usually costs me coming up March 10ly when I don't have a lot of inventory, and wife's like, "Why you got 7 males?" I don't know. But I want the first eaters, the hardest eaters, the meanest ones, the nastiest ones.
Yeah,
that's what I pull for my grow ups.
It makes sense. I mean, it makes sense why you have 19, 20-year-old snakes. I mean, those are going to end up being the hardiest.
Yeah, well, we like to hope.
Yeah,
but
built to survive.
Yep. But I'll have these people that are like, "Oh, I force fed this snake for 8 months, and I can't wait till she's living and she's great, and I can't wait to breed it." And I'm like, "That is the worst animal to put in your breeding pool." I had a Japanese rat one time that wouldn't eat as a hatchling, and every time I pull the box open, I'm like, "I wish you'd just die," and and he just wouldn't die. And after 8 months, I threw a rat pinky in there, and I'm like, "Choke on it, die." And that thing horked that rat pinky down and did fine. But this is not an animal I ever wanted to keep or breed out of, So I gave it to a school as a pet.
That's one of the talks I have when bringing someone on that's, working with all the animals. I'm like, listen, you're going to see death. When you are working with thousands of animals, it's going to be part of it. It is going to happen at some time. And I go, and here's the crazy thing. There are going to be animals that look completely healthy. They have never missed a meal. They have given no signs of anything wrong. And you're going to come in after 2 days off and they stink because they died 10 minutes after the last time you looked at them.
Exactly.
And I said, and then there are going to be others that you swear should have died 2 years ago. And they just keep on trucking. I don't understand.
Just here to torture you and make your life miserable.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. And make you question, what does that thing have?
Yes,
what is that thing giving everybody else? That's what
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep. So I have a question.
Sure.
For the people that don't know much about Chinese or Taiwan beauties, and they're just now really kind of nerding out on them for the first time, can you talk just briefly about their patterns? I think you nailed it. The Chinese have always reminded me of a muted out Taiwan. But as far as like personality is concerned and overall body size, what are those differences when it comes to a Taiwan versus a Chinese historically?
Well, I think the Taiwans are a lot more mild and even-tempered snake. I think Chinese are a little flightier. They're not quite as bad as Unionensis, but they're close. They're a little flightier. Babies are definitely flightier. They got to get a little size on them. And once they get into about a year or something, they'll start chilling out and realizing that every time the cage opens, first thing goes to their minds, they got to eat. And they become like about any other beauty snake. But I think that I label Chinese as one of the little more higher strung of the group. And oddly enough, I've seen it horribly worse in some of the morphs. Like
really?
Platinum Chinese beauties are the hyperest effing snake I've ever seen in my life. They never calm down. Mine will beat themselves to death to get away from you, and they're kept like every other one. Whereas like the calicos and stuff, shit, they'll come right. If you open a tub and you're too slow with a rat, they're on your shoulder, want to know where you've been. So I don't know if some of that has to do with genetics, the inbreeding part of it, but something about the platinums, they're a beautiful snake.
Very much so.
I kind of have my feelings that they're actually an anery form of calico, which has always been my thought on the platinums, whereas the anery might be an anery in its own, but there are a lot of traits with the platinums that you see in the calicos. And I have taken platinums into unrelated calicos and throw stuff that looks like platinum. But one thing for me as a breeder of my own, there are guys out there like Clint with his black rats. And I love black rats, but Ohio makes it impossible. It's not worth the hassle that I have to go through to work with them. But if you're the type that likes to breed a bunch of stuff together to see what you get, well, you got to hold all that crap and you got to see what it turns into, and then you got to get rid of it. I'm not that kind of guy myself. I'm the first one to say that that genetics is not my strong suit. But I am perfectly content with breeding calicos to calicos and making pretty little calicos, and AMLs to AMLs, which there's 4 or 5 different phases of AMLs, to other AMLs, and make pretty little AMLs, and I can just be happy as a lark doing that. I do not need, there's a couple other guys, and Clint knows who they are, that can do that all they want to. That's just not that's not my bag.
And, you know, and I'll tell you that's one thing I'll say too about the Chinese, you know, when it comes to genetics and morphs, it is just as muddy.
Oh yeah.
As black rat snake mutations. I mean, it's, if not worse, meaning you've got T negative, hypo, maybe there's multiple lines T negatives. Hypo, it to me kind of looks like it's probably T negative. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
You know my stance on the hypo.
I do. Yeah. And it's also where, you know, part of, and I've said this before, and I think you and I talked about this, Rob, where the problem is, as well as like, if from a scientific standpoint, if that gene is technically hypomelanistic, if it is technically that, the problem is in the industry, it has been labeled as albino for so long that by calling it something different, it's creating confusion and more problems, you know, within it. And, you know, but again, nor here nor there, but it is one to just know, if you're going to get into Chinese, you know, beauty breeding, there's a lot of pretty ones and it's a lot of fun, but you are going to deal with a lot of that messiness and figuring out what the hell you have. There's
a lot of stuff I think people are just throwing against the wall to see if it sticks, but I am not the morph guy to get into those arguments. I know if you put an animal in front of me and the thing's got a red eye, it's some form of amelanism. That's the way I look at it. But I have seen overseas, I have seen hypomelanistic Chinese that keepers have over in China and Japan. I've seen melanistic Chinese beauties over in Japan, which are stunners. We can't get them over here. I've seen aneries, true aneries. I don't even think that what we have as aneries, to me, is not an anery. I think it's something else. But I'm not the one that raised that question, because I'm the only person that you will find in the reptile industry that says genetics are not my strong point.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm not going to throw something together and call it something that it's not. I personally think with just going into what I've seen in other species of old worlds, like radiated rats and stuff, I really believe that I have one of the only true T negative lines in the country, which is the Sundlows, because they have a lot of the traits of T negative stuff that I've seen. I can't seem to get these little bastards to want to take off and do anything. and probably one of the hardest things that I had to do was to find unmitigated, unadulterated, normal animals to breed into these Sundlows, because so much crap's got everything in it. And actually, I went through and purged probably about 15 breeder Chinese last year, just because there was so much in them that trying to work with anything or to track anything out of them, I was just beating my head against the wall. So I got a bunch of my own stuff that I know what's in it coming up, and I was better to work with that stuff.
So here's a quick plug for Rare Genetics Inc. To remind everybody what we're looking forward to them, you know, coming on to the colubrid side and helping clean some of this up for us.
If I can get a shed on the Sundlows, I'm going to give them a piece of it, because I'd like to know what they say that it is.
Oh yeah,
but even in the amelanistic Chinese, you know, I've put it out there that there's probably like four to five different phases of amelanistic Chinese. But I've also been breeding these things long enough that I know back in the 90s, there could be anything in that shit show of their genetic background.
I've had it proven to me. I had they were clutch mates. You know, I bought them as clutch mates, and I thought that I bought them as hypos, which again could be, you know, T-negs, who knows. Right. I bred them together, and out of 8 babies, I had 1 yellow one and 7 green ones.
Yep.
Oh, what? You know, what? So sure. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that it turned out to be either hypo/T negative, or in the other one is a T positive. It's when I really looked at them and, okay, here's the subtle difference. And whichever one of them is het for the other, because I got the one, you know, but who knows? Maybe that's a third gene that they both were het for. So yeah, it's hard.
Real quick, for people that don't necessarily know the Chinese morphs, can we just list them out? Because I know there's calicos, there's platinums.
You got calicos, you got amelanistic calicos, you got T positives, T negatives, you got snows, you have aneries, you have the shit over in Europe they're calling stars, which I think is bullshit. You got albino, calicos.
You got the platinum.
You got the sun glows. You got the platinums. Trying to think, and I know of others, but those are the only ones you're going to run into here in the country.
So the Chinese beauty snake, then, is that the subspecies out of the group that has the most morphs?
That's the only one.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. So if you're a morph,
other than Unionensis,
Chinese are your snake.
Klaus Schultz found an amelanistic Unionensis, which I have babies that track back to his animals on the albino Unionensis, but all the rest of them don't have any, and that's a lot of the problem with. There was a guy that came in and brought a bunch of stuff from Europe, down in Daytona, had them on his table and had them all marked as Frugii, but they were platinums and calicos and calling them stuff that they weren't, and I'd have people go, "Hey, I just got some albino Taiwans." I'm like, "No, you don't. There's no morph or mutation." There was a dude that used to run auctions here in the United States, and he would sell albino Taiwans in his auctions. I go, I'd like to see a picture of the adults. I never could get one. And it's got something to do with a hit and miss of bringing stuff in from overseas. I don't know what it was, but yeah, the Chinese are basically the only one that has the mutations in it. Like I said, other than the Unionensis, and there's not a ton of Unionensis over here.
I was going to say, you're not going to find a bunch of normal Unionensis.
No.
And what's Unionensis? Is that Taiwan?
Unionensis is the smallest of the subspecies. They max out smaller than Chinese. They max out at about 40 inches.
Okay.
They're called the Union Beauty Snake is what they're.
Union
Beauty, yeah. And they're supposed to be the smallest. Yeah, they're supposed to be the smallest.
And they're not common here, right?
They're not really common, and to be honest with you, a lot of times when I look at projects, my problem when it comes to beauty snakes is I'm a completist collector. If there's one of them out there, I got to have it. As far as pet wise and salability wise, I think long term in the Unionensis is limited. I don't see the amelanistic and the Unans are a lot more saturated, brighter yellow than we get in the Chinese, and a much smaller and a little more high-strung animal. But the normals overall are not a lot to look at.
Now there's one. Forgive me if I'm butchering this. Is it the McCards? McCords, yes.
McCordi.
Now I've never seen one in person. I've only seen pictures.
I don't think there's a true McCords in the United States.
That would explain why I've never seen one.
Yeah,
I haven't seen one that I'd say is a McCords probably since the mid '90s.
Now the pictures I saw, that was a pretty good looking beauty snake.
Well, they reminded you of the brightness of the Taiwans. They lacked the body size. They had more of a build of like a blue. They were a slimmer, narrow animal, but they would still push like 7 feet. They didn't have the bulk of a Taiwan. And I have a lot of people that will say, "Oh, I think it's crossed with McCord." I'm like, I don't know that I would know a McCordi if it smacked me in the face. It's been that long since I've seen one. I don't believe I've actually given up the look for true McCordi. I have not had anybody send me a picture that they have any.
Gotcha.
But which kind of, I try to be real helpful as best as I can when it comes to beauty snakes. But one thing that I learned a while off, particularly with Facebook, is I do not pass opinions on other people's animals, because I have people that'll send me a picture and go, "Is this a Taiwan?" I go, "No, it's a cross, if anything." Oh, okay. And then I guess somebody bitching at me because they sold it to him as a Taiwan. And I'm like, I didn't win or lose anything in this battle.
Right.
So I got to know you really well before I help you with an opinion, you know, on what's in an animal. Because really, I can't take an educated guess. I didn't breed it. You know, all I can do is give you an opinion, but I don't know. I didn't breed the thing.
So speaking of breeding, how do you go about breeding?
Beauty snakes are easy. I can't sit here and dazzle you.
Well, they kicked my ass.
Bullshit.
So.
No. My collection is pretty much kept on the cool side anyway.
Okay.
My ambient room temperature probably doesn't get much over 75. I'm fat and I'm old and I don't like sweating, so my room stays cool.
My Asian room is definitely my favorite room to go work in.
Exactly. And actually, a couple years ago, and it's interesting because I was listening to a podcast a couple of days y'all had on the Frenata guy, Kevin, and now he's in Connecticut, and man, I wished I had it easy. But he was talking about infertility problems and things like that. So normally, I would put my stuff down. I would stop feeding it in Thanksgiving. I put it down to Christmas time, bring it up Valentine's Day because it's Day of Love. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It wasn't much to it. Well, then I started noticing that I was getting shitty clutch size, and especially in my Taiwans. I was getting small clutch sizes, infertility. Taiwans are not hard to breed. So when you got a Taiwan, and they eat like a freight train, so I'm like, you got to pay for yourself being here. You know, and so they'll throw you 15, 16 eggs, and maybe 6 or 7 of them are good. And I'm like, gee, my Christmas, what the hell's going on here? Well, then I realized half the time in central Ohio, Christmas time, our windows are open. We're running around in shorts.
Yeah.
So, and it's 65 degrees, which is the coldest I could get my room in December. My shit still thinks it's time to eat. They're head banging. It don't mean nothing. So I've actually had to shove my entire season, you know, back or forward, however you want to do it. So now, but it puts me very behind the market, but I'm shutting off food now mid-January, and our coldest months are February, March. And so my stuff, best case scenario, might cool down for about 6 weeks. This year, I had 2.5 weeks and said to hell with it and brought everything up because I could not get it cold at all. And all I was doing was skinning it out. Still had a pretty decent year. And I think a lot of times the cooling is just hibernation was a way for some big breeders to get a vacation when they put everything to sleep. I get it. I get it. And I think if nothing else, you know, I don't really think that it matters if you've got caging, you got bioactive, you got a cage the size of my living room or the things in a shoebox. It's just a break of its everyday norm. It's just something different, you know.
Triggers that,
And I'm a huge believer of food and water triggers. So temperature is somewhere in that mess. Probably maybe third is what I think is most important with animals. But I'll take them down to whatever Ohio lets me take them down there. I'm in a split level house in my main room. Both of my rooms are in the basement, under concrete block. About 3/4 of the rooms are. My Chinese stuff, I took all the styrofoam off of the walls, and they go in the back corner where it gets the coldest. I might be able at a good time get a few days at maybe 58 degrees. My Ridley and things like that will stay to the front of the room where it stays a little bit warmer. So I don't really like taking them much down below about 65. And then the whole room shuts down. The whole room goes to sleep. Rob don't want to see you. And so it's anywhere from probably 58 to 65 degrees. I like to keep them down at least 6 weeks. I don't often have that luxury. Then you bring them up and feed them hard. Normally I find most sexes will eat. I don't think they care. And they'll shed usually about 12 to 14 days or so out of hibernation. And then most of the Asian stuff is fairly quick breeders. They breed early in the season. There's some stuff out there that I think a lot of people miss because it breeds in hibernation. I don't think a lot of people really realize that.
Persina is one of them.
Persina, mandarins. If most people knew anything about the natural history of eastern fox snakes, you'd realize that they have to breed in hibernation. because they're only up 2.5, 3 months out of the year tops. Because I've collected them, I know, 20 some years ago. And the breeding is pretty much straightforward. Normally, as soon as I go to put a female in the male's cage, if there's any twitching going on, because I introduce the females to the male's cage, and he starts tongue flicking and twitching, I know they're going to breed. Usually it's within probably about 30 minutes, if that. Sometimes it's about 10. And I usually keep them together for the day, pull them apart. I tend to do the stupid thing by raising way too many females and not enough males. So you got 4 girls, you need to rest up because you're going in the cage, another cage next.
Good night's rest, buddy.
Yep. And I offer them food, and I've had more unusual things happen this year in my collection. This year is the first year I ever double clutched a mandarin. I do not double clutch. I do not double clutch. I don't run anything for a double clutch. If they do it on their own. I've had mandarins and beauty snakes eat 5 days before they dropped eggs, which was interesting. So they they don't skip a beat. I had a Chinese double clutch this year, first time I've ever had that. And then I give them all fairly deep egg laying boxes. I usually like some of these bigger Rubbermaid boxes, and those females will get in there and root around and spin around. And normally when you see sphagnum moths hanging out of the front of the box, they've burrowed down and they're working on land. And then my incubation is the same incubation technique that I've done for 40 years. It was taught to me by Lloyd, and I don't change it. My eggs go directly. Yep. My eggs go directly on vermiculite. I can't stand perlite or hatchite. I don't use either one of those. I actually just did a talk on eggs and incubation and stuff for a society here about a month or so ago. And I put them directly onto vermiculite. I don't put them on an egg crate. I don't do nothing like that. And they go on the top shelf of one of my racks. They go on the top of the racks. And there they sit. I'll check them usually about a month in to make sure the eggs aren't doing anything, if they're caving in or anything like that, where I might need to put a little cup of water in, because I incubate my eggs very dry. And if you incubate your eggs dry, you'll typically make a larger hatchling because they'll use more of that albumin. I learned that from Lloyd 40 years ago. They won't hatch with so much. They won't hatch with so much waste. You'll get a much bigger, beefier baby because they'll make use of all that yolk and everything that's in that egg before they come out.
Well, and I talked about this earlier too, or before, where I think a lot of my unsuccessful hatchlings this year, because I had several dead in egg, where babies fully formed and then didn't hatch out. And I think that things were too humid. We got them too wet. And I think that was the issue, and that was the error, that we have to adjust this next season. So
it'll definitely affect it. I usually use Sterilite clip top boxes because the little bastards get out just as easy as hatchlings as they will adults. I drill a hole in each corner of them and stick them on the shelf.
Same, 2 holes.
That's it. That's it. Now I will say that the Tenura species, a lot of eggs will soften up just before they'll hatch, but Tenuras will get hard as a rock. And I think you could shank somebody with an eggshell after they come out. They're very thick shelled. So I'll watch, and usually when I get the first split, because it seems like most of my stuff always wants to split in the evening, I'll let them sit all night long, and then anything, I'll set the box down, tell wife, hey, you need to cut the rest of these tomorrow morning. You can even see where they're scratching the insides of the eggshell.
Yeah. There's some that didn't make it out this year. That's exactly what I saw. You could see the scratches.
So. You don't. So if it's anything of mine, if I get one in the clutch that slits, they'll sit 6 hours or overnight, and the next morning everybody gets cut. Poke them, make sure they're alive, and then come out when you're ready.
Same.
But when you do, it's like my eggs will fluctuate probably anywhere from 60 to 80 degrees. And I don't care if my eggs get to 60. I worry more about my eggs spending any time above 80 than I do at 60. So, mine bounce around whatever the room temperature is. That's where they're at.
I think eggs are just like snakes. They can handle cool a lot better than they can handle heat. They can bounce back from getting a little too cold. Whenever you get, well, with eggs, you get them too hot. Yeah, they may hatch. Now you've got kinks, you've got deformities, you've got,
Now, blue beauties are the only one I ever had issues with. And I actually had to go back and read a friend of mine's article that he wrote. He wrote it in 1990 for the Bavarian magazine. His name is Michael Humphrey, a hump herps from out west. And he was the first person to breed blue beauties. Now, he says that they would sit around the eggs just like a python, leave and drink, go out and eat, go back and guard the eggs. Now, they didn't do maternal incubation, but they set the eggs. And the babies would hatch. And for like a couple of years, I was getting some kinks in my blues, and I couldn't figure out why. And when I went back and read his article, which books are helpful, magazines are helpful, and realized that he kept them at 80 degrees. So once I started keeping my blues a little on the warmer side, putting them in a little bit higher on the shelf and stuff, I haven't had that problem. Then, like I said, basically baby care is fairly straightforward. But with the babies, I try to keep the babies very similar to the adults, where I don't keep a very hot room. I don't keep a very hot facility here. So when you look at animals like that, you've got to keep in mind that you've also got to drop your size of food. Do I have some Taiwans that could eat large rats? Hell yeah. Am I going to feed them a large rat? No, because I don't want it back in 3 days. Right. They'll get a couple of mediums, or Taiwans I kind of use as my pituophis. They clean up anything that gets left between them and black milk, so I don't throw anything away. But so babies are much the same. Feed them smaller meals more often, I think, is the best way to go. Now, like
how many days between?
Between feeding?
Yeah.
It depends. The stuff that I'm looking to keep, I'll probably feed about every 5 days. 5 days to a week. I don't go overboard. But in incubating eggs the way that I do, you have got to let them sit. I get people, oh my God, my Taiwan eggs are at 62 days. I need to cut them. No, leave them the hell alone. I had blue beauties go 104 days.
Wow.
Before they split, and they were all fine. So they'll hatch when they're ready. If the eggs look good, they'll hatch when they're ready. Just wait. Don't cut them. Get out of that ball python mentality. They'll come out when they're ready. And beauty snakes are the same.
I wanted to ask you, Rob, on when it comes to hatchlings and some of that setup. So this is, we talked about, we have our own little theories that have no basis other than just our own observations, right?
Right.
So one of the things that I do when it comes to really all the Asians except mandarins, I don't do this with mandarins. The nursery is warmer than the Asian room.
Right.
Obviously. One, just because of where it's located in the building.
Right.
But I tend to have a little better feeding response in things like bamboos and really the other Asians, putting them in that room where they're just, when I say warmer, I'm talking not higher than 78, right?
Oh, sure.
That's about the peak.
Yeah, but you get them hot, they ain't happy.
Right. So I'm not saying hot by any means, but whenever we're comparing it to the Asian room, that is no hotter, and this sounds subtle, but no hotter than 76, right?
Right.
But the babies always get a little bit warmer, and I tend to have better results. And in my head, my mentality is, even though they're not going to want or be as hot as our North American stuff, they still hatch out during the hottest time of the year where they're at. So whenever you have that range of temperatures that they typically are going to be around, the babies are coming out during the higher end of the range. And so I'm just curious if you ever, I mean, because there was a customer who just got a bamboo, shipped them to him, and wasn't feeding for them. And okay, where are you at on your temps, humidity? And it kind of ended up sounding like the humidity was too high and the temp was too low, even though that's in the printed range, if you Google it. So it's like, no, you got to get that humidity down a little bit because this is going to be a respiratory issue, and bump up the heat to this. And, things things started turning around right away. So just curious if you ever noticed anything like that with babies on your end, with as many Asian babies as you're working with.
I noticed it with some. You know, the baby rack systems that we have are solid sided. There's not any light that gets to these cats. I just had to go to a new baby rack system, and I think that keeps them a lot calmer. And I think a little bit warmer, they'll do okay because they're sitting there in the dark and they're not spazzing themselves out or working themselves up to want to do anything stupid or puke or. But now king rats, I found, if you get king rats too hot, they will cheese grate their face off.
Yeah.
And so those guys go in the bottom of the racks. I don't give them any heat. They're down on the floor. And I even posted a picture of like my mandarins. My mandarins, I usually set babies up in 6-inch deli cups with damp sphagnum and set them down on the floor. And I took a picture of them with a temp gun, and they were like 68 degrees, and things eat like a champ and happy as a lark. You know, it's just so. You know, you got to tweak it a little bit and play around with it. But I think most of if you keep the majority of your Asian stuff, you know, as babies in particular, because a baby is something that, and I know it goes against the grain of a lot of people, but you want to keep that thing in something small, tight, to get it to eat. And I have so many people, it's like, oh, I got a bamboo rat from somebody because I'm just starting back into bamboos, so I don't.
I told you would.
I know. Well, I've kept my pet Laticincta now alive for about 2 years, so I think I can get another one now. But and they'll send me a picture, and you know, it's like a 24-inch Exo-terra, and it's all decked out and looks beautiful, and I'm like, yeah, and you can't find a baby, and when you dig that thing up, the last thing it wants to do is eat.
It wants to run. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And it wants to run. You scared the shit out of it. Last thing it wants to do is eat. And that's why I like my 6-inch deli cups, because when I sell them, and you'll see them at Kaluberfest, they got all their information on them, and I'll give them to people. And they'll go, how long should I keep them in this? If it's mine, I keep it in there for a year. But if you're going to move it and try something else and it doesn't work, then put it back in the 6-inch deli cup, you know, and restart it again. So I think that keeping them tight, but if you keep an Asian tight, you got to kind of back off the heat a little bit, I think. And I think it depends. The beauty snakes can handle a little more heat. Like I said, the king rats hate it. I don't think the Mullendorfs are happy with it as babies either. And we could rattle off all of them that'll do it and won't do it. But I think just general basic, you know, don't go out of your mind with too much heat on baby Asian stuff. And
no, and that's let's make sure we say that. When I say they're a little warmer, I don't mean hot, guys. I don't mean
there's a difference.
Give them an 82-degree hot spot. No. I'm just saying they get a little bit warmer than what we keep the adults, and it seems to kick some of them in gear if they're given a problem.
Well, I'm a huge believer of daytime highs and nighttime lows anyway. My baby stuff will drop. And anything that I hold back that I produce this year will go into the big room, and they will hibernate with the rest of them. You know, they'll be 8 months old, and they're going to hibernate with the rest of them. They may as well get into the system, because I've kept animals up and not hibernated them, and hibernated them back when I used to do I'm a geek for black and white cow kings. I love black and white cow kings, and I used to breed a ton of them, and I have kept animals up and hibernated animals and found that the growth rate overall really made no difference. You know, I didn't, you know, they grew just as fast hibernating as if I kept them up. I didn't gain or lose. So they may as well go to hell to sleep too. But, and of course, we all know there's some species out there that need to hibernate before they even look at doing anything. Yeah. That's like the rubber boas. You know, when they're born, I don't even hibernate. I don't even try to feed them. They go right into hibernation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Nice.
So, and then how hard are they to get to eat out of the egg? Are they
babies usually take right off. And if you have one that's stubborn, a little on the stubborn size, and I describe it to people all the time, but if you've bred rodents, had rodents, you know what I'm talking about. If you get that little skanky ass little runner mouse that's like half the size of his little buddies, and his eyes are kind of opening, and he looks like death on a cracker, go with something with a little more movement, you know, because they'll key on movement. They're a sight hunter, you know, so they'll key on movement. Pitus are very much the same way. And beak snakes, they're all sight hunters. So something with a little more movement, if I can get that right size mouse, they'll take that right out of the gate because that movement gets them all kicked up. Whereas you might throw a pinky in there and they're just going to look at it. They're not going. It doesn't move enough for them.
Yeah.
But they'll usually take down pretty decent, a little bit bigger than you'll give them credit for.
Yeah, I noticed that with my rat snakes, is that if I'm sitting there looking at the pink and I'm looking at the snake and I'm thinking, can you eat this? The answer is yes. And I throw it in and it goes down the rat snake gullet without any problem. Right. If I'm sitting there with these damn Floridana and I think the Florida Kings, can you eat this? I think you're going to eat it.
Yep.
But should you eat it? Because I've definitely pushed that size with them a little bit and then found that crazy regurg pinky thing.
Oh, yeah.
So,
well, I think we've all gone, good luck throwing it in there. And hope for the best the next day. But they can they'll usually keep it down. I used to have regurg problems with my beauty snakes in the spring when I brought them up, my adults. And I tell my wife, oh, Jesus Christ, I'm going through beauty snake puke-a-thon again. And, but it was because I was pushing them too hard on the feeders right out of cooling. I was just that much of a beginner. I learn every day if I don't let myself get in the way of it. And, for, the first 3 or 4 weeks that the stuff's up, they get like maybe a big mouse. And they look at me very disgusted and with a lot of hate in their eyes. And then after about 3 or 4 weeks, we'll graduate up to weanling rats or small rats. And I've eliminated that problem. But, even us that have been doing it way too long still make stupid mistakes. And you have to step back and, okay, this is what I'm doing. Let me try that.
Yeah.
So,
do you mix any other prey items in other than rodents?
Yeah, I'll do, they really love Tractor Supply Chick Day when I catch them on sale. Because you want to talk about the smiles on little 10-year-olds' faces when you throw 10 chicks in there, for them to eat and squeeze all at the same time. They're so happy.
It's like hugging a stuffed animal for them.
Yeah, they're just so happy. I do, if I can get them, I tell a lot of people out there, if you find anybody that's a meat rabbit breeder or does a large-scale rabbitry, ask them what they do with their stuff that dies in the nest and buy them a freezer.
Kits,
buy them a freezer and give them a quarter, 50 cents a dead bunny because they're throwing it in the trash. But if they get one that chews the ears off of it or they stomp it in the nest, beauty snakes or wolf teeth, bad teeth or whatever it is, beauty snakes love baby bunnies. And
really?
They're very happy with baby bunnies. And it puts some size on really fast.
I bet.
Really?
Beyond that, it's pretty much just a straight rodent forward diet for me. I'd say they probably about 80%, 85% of their diet is just standard issue rodent diet. And I don't typically, I don't do any supplementation, no calcium supplementation. I'm a very keep it simple, stupid keeper like my mentor was. And I don't tend to see a lot of clear spots in eggs or, calcium problems in eggs or anything like that. So I don't look for problems. They'll find me fast enough. So I don't look for them. So.
Cool.
Gotcha.
So is there any, you've given a wealth of info. This has been absolutely fantastic.
Oh, beauty snakes are easy. Go try some.
Is that your little, I was just about to ask, is there anything quirky that you need to know, but is that actually it? Like these are easier than you think they are?
I think that don't look at any old literature because it's all outdated and BS. Because if you pick up any of the old TFH books or any of the old rat snake books, they're going to tell you they're mean, they're nasty, they're parasite ridden, they're going to die. Don't touch them. And don't let that scare you away from them. And I'm telling you, whether you come by my table or Clint's table or Larry's table or any other cats that have gone down the rabbit hole with these things, if you just try one and give it 8 months to a year and see what that animal turns into, you'll be hooked on them. You may not go down and be as stupid as I am, but you'll want a few more or you'll want to try to breed them. And they're a lot of fun. I mean, I've triple clutched Taiwans in the past. I don't do that anymore. They love breeding. But they're just a great all around snake. And I really suggest Taiwans to get your feet wet first. And if you get a Taiwan down, like Clint said, with a couple little tweaking one way or another, you can probably house about any and do well with about any beauty snake out there.
Yeah. So didn't keep as many as these guys, but I can give the perspective of someone who's kept some, but I don't consider myself a beauty snake guy. Mm-hmm. One thing, actually, the first snake I bought Colin was a Taiwan beauty snake from your table at Columbus.
Oh, thank
you.
That
was before we knew each other. So there you go. Mm-hmm. And then we raised it up. And I don't know if you remember when I gave you all the beauty snakes.
Yep.
You got that snake back.
No, so he's still downstairs.
Oh,
he's still down there. Yeah, he's still downstairs.
But
they don't. They usually leave. They don't usually leave once they come back.
What I loved about keeping beauty snakes is, and I'm running into this right now. I had a good run, and now, ironically, now that I'm 10 years back in, I'm kind of like, why is this happening now? But truth be told, I actually like to buy my colubrids when they're about 8 to 10 months old and they're past that damn worm phase. And you can kind of see this thing is the size it should be at this age. And then it's probably going to keep on that growth trajectory. I've got some kings right now that are a year old and looks like they just hatched out of an egg. I've got some rat snakes right now, North American rats that just aren't like growing the way they should. And I've been looking at temperatures and what I'm feeding them and like the whole thing, and it just doesn't make any damn sense. Every beauty rat that I have had, and I've raised all of them from babies that I had, they just grow. That's what I like about them. Right. Like they were super easy. I had blue beauties. I had my Taiwan beauties. I think I had 2.2 of each, so I raised 8 of them. But they just grew. Like you buy them, you don't have to do anything fancy. They were in this room I record in. I just had them in smaller tubs until they got big. Then they actually lived in these enclosures for a little while. But they were like idiot proof. Like feed, grow. Now I've got king snakes, which are supposedly idiot proof. Why? This idiot has broken them. they get fed and they're just like, oh yeah, that was great. I'm not going to grow anymore. I'm like, what the? Okay, I don't understand what's going on. But I never had that experience. Right. I had the same thing with all my Asians, actually. The Japanese rats, the bamboo rats I had, the Carinata I had, the Prasna I had. So that's one of the things I did like about the Asians is that they were just kind of feed, they grow. Like I like that. So.
I think so. I mean, I kind of lump snakes all in the same thing. I tell people I kind of stole a little something out of Jaws. I'm like, they're perfect animals. They know how to do 3 things. They know how to eat, they know how to grow, and they know how to make little babies of themselves. That's what they know how to do. And beauty snakes fit right into that bill. And I mean, I've never had, that I can now, except for my sunglows that I'm trying to work out. I've never had any of them struggle, be piss poor feeders, non-growers. And my wife and I typically grow stuff relatively slow. It's not that's what we shoot out to do. We're just not a power feeder. We keep our stuff cool. And so our stuff grows at a very standard issue average rate. And I don't know that I've ever run into anything in the Ornithrophis line that, just didn't want to grow, or look at my Taiwan, it's 2 feet and 9 years old. But we don't breed any females till they're 4. And, and that, if they get big enough at 2.5 or 3, they're still going to sit there till they're 4. Yeah. It's just something we do. Males don't matter. Males' job's easy.
Well, we're talking about slow growers, things like that. I agree. That's not really something I've seen with them, but it's not just as far as growth rates. I think with them and really with a lot of the Asian species, their metabolisms are elevated compared to most of the colubrids we're working with. And because of that, they don't have these lulls or where, you may have this corn snake or this king snake that something's not right with that snake. Something's off and it's a slow deterioration. Right. With these, it's, that snake looks bad. Oh, it's dead now. It just, boom. I mean, it's, if there's anything wrong, that metabolism just takes it, and so everything's faster with them.
Yeah. Well, I know that I can sit and say when it comes to beauty snakes, I can't tell you at any time in my whole career messing with beauty snakes that I've ever had problems with mouth rot, respiratory. Hell, I can't hardly get a mite on them if I tried. That's something I've never experienced with it. There's other animals that I can say they're totally different, but the beauty snakes are just like, they're just very ironclad and very solid, easy care keepers. But you have to kind of, I tell people all the time, you kind of have to take everything that you think you know about snakes and reptiles and what you think they want and throw it all out the window and shift gears with it a little bit. You don't want to keep them hot. You don't need to go out of your way with heat and light and that type of stuff. And if you do, then you better make it bigger cages, because there are some, I will guarantee you, if you get a high strung mobile animal like a tenura, a king rat, anything like that, put in something too small, keep it too hot, it's going to be miserable, and it's going to let you know it's going to be nasty and rub itself to death and work all the time. If I see any of mine work, I got to figure out why. And I've got one calico Chinese beauty female down there. I don't know if you guys are familiar with cichlids at all, but I'm a huge fish nerd, and I used to do a lot of red devils, and red devils take all the gravel in their red devils take all the gravel in their tank and pile it right up to the front so you can't see in their tank. And this animal does the same shit, and I don't know why. and I will go down there and check it any hour of the day, and she's in her little hide box in the corner. But at some point in time, she comes out and she's bulldozed it all over the cage and shoves all the shit to the front of the glass, and then goes back to sleep. It's like she's got a job. And she is the only one down there that does that. But under normal circumstances, I'd worry about it. But she's done that shit for 6 years, so I don't think she's gonna stop.
It's just
her. There you go.
Just her. Yep, just her.
Okay. Well, we've gotten away from this question last couple episodes. And I just kind of was sitting here and realized, so sorry, Jason. Sorry, Sarah. Well, no, I think we asked Sarah. I can't remember if we did, but I'm very curious to ask you this question. And I've been very proud of you for keeping this as PC as you have up to this moment.
Thank you.
But this might challenge that a little bit. So this is a legacy from Matt when he was here. It was like kind of last contribution to the podcast you did before he passed the torch to Clint. But we have been asking our guests historically, so the hobby or herpetoculture discipline, whatever you want to call it, do you think we have an upward trajectory, a trajectory, downward trajectory? Do you like where the hobby's going currently? Is there an element of colubridge you like? Just kind of Rob's thoughts on herpetoculture in this September of 2024 and where we're going and how it's ultimately going to end. Well, I shouldn't say how it's ultimately going to end. That's definitely not the right way to phrase that.
It's not a good connotation.
It did. I liked it. Okay. I think that there's a lot of pressure right now on the hobby, and I think it's in the wrong direction. There's a lot of hate going on with ball pythons and how they've taken the industry over and this, that, and the other thing. And ball pythons have done more for this industry than any snake I have ever put on a table. Ball pythons have increased our interest, our younger fold of people. But the hobby itself has kind of fallen into the trap that I tell people all the time. If we all like the same shit, this would be a boring ass place to live. And sadly, a large percentage of our people all like the same shit. So right now it's a boring ass place to be. Shows are a boring ass place to be. But I've been in it. I don't look at myself as a dinosaur in the industry, but I've been in it long enough where I've seen ebbs and flows, and it'll come back. Don't worry about it. Don't put so much damn pressure on it. And for the love of God, quit trying to find something to fucking fight about. To me, snake keeping is just like aquarium keeping. If I want to breed angelfish and put them in a slate in a 20-gallon tank, and they're happy and they breed all the time, and I'm happy with that, leave me the hell alone. If I want clown puke gravel in there and diving dogs and multicolored plants and bullshit, don't talk down to the beginners, because that's how they got started. You know, not everybody wants naturalistic shit. Not everybody wants bioactive stuff. Not everybody wants that. And there's so many different ways that you can be a part of this industry and a part of this hobby, that I don't understand why so many people try to spend so much time in dividing it. You know, it's a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. And I think a lot of people have forgotten just how fantastic and magical the shit that we do is. You know, that you could take an animal and make it feel comfortable enough and breed it. You don't understand how fantastic that is. Now, if you're the guy that's out there trying to go for the next $50,000 morph on a ball, then you got a different driving force. But I think the hobby is doing more damage by turning beginners away, and that troubles me. And I hate seeing that. And that's one reason why I don't belong to a single Facebook group out there. I don't. I figure if somebody wants to find me, they'll find me. If they want help, they'll ask me. I'm more than happy to help anybody with anything. But I'm not going to get out there and beat my head against the wall arguing with a keyboard warrior that's got nothing else better to do with his day, or assholes. And I just think that the whole industry needs to just take a breath. It'll come around. Shit, I remember selling Russian rats and Escalapian rats for $25, and nobody wanted them. And I've sold the same animals for $300 and couldn't produce enough of them. You know, I mean, it comes back around. Just relax, you know, take a breath. And right now, I think for probably about another year, that these guys that are large-scale breeders need to really look at what they're producing. If you haven't got an outlet and you can't afford to keep it, then don't produce it. Just because you've got 100 ball python females, maybe you don't need to breed 100 ball python females. Maybe you don't need to breed all 200 of your female crested geckos. And then everything will level back out. But it seems like somewhere along the lines in this hobby, everybody has forgotten the fun. Everybody's forgotten to be the hobbyist. It's all about producing the first, being the best, having the biggest YouTube channel, you know, having the most followers at a show. You know, and I just think that they really need to step back and understand just how fucking awesome that this hobby that we have is, and stop trying to use it as a platform to tear the hobby down. You know.
Well said, sir.
Absolutely. And it's that sentiment right there that just makes me so happy to get to see you in a month at Colubrid Fest.
Yeah,
you know, a place that is 100% for exactly what you just said.
And I apologize for all the shit I'm going to say there to everybody that hasn't met me in person. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
It'll be a great time. Great time.
So fantastic. All right. Well, this has been utterly wonderful, as we thought it was going to be. So it was worth the wait. I have to say that.
I had a blast. You guys had me on.
Yeah. Well, so people do want to reach out to you about beauty snakes or any kind of snakes, colubrids, you know, old worlds. How do people go about doing that?
You could reach out to, you can find us on Facebook at Zerkle Reptile Company or Zerkle Reptile Co. It's a very unoriginal name, but not a lot of Zerkles out there, so it's pretty easy to remember. We have literally had, and I take a lot of shit for this, we've had the same email address since computers came out. So my email address is reptile4me at AOL.com. Yes, they do.
Holy hell.
Yes, they do still exist. Yes. And
quick side note to that: if you go to Show Me Reptiles page, the Colubrid Fest page, it will not show the Zerkles on there that I believe, and it's all because of that email address.
That is correct.
It's linking the vendor that because it automatically puts things over and blah blah blah. It says the whole thing is that AOL. The system won't recognize the AOL email address.
Exactly. Yes. So yeah, I'm not real. And I'm generally always at I'm usually always at Tenley. You know, we're always at Tenley Park. Great show. We enjoy that. We do a couple of local shows, but like I saw in an episode that Zac mentioned, you know, if you come to like any of the smaller regional shows, no, I don't bring a lot of my stuff there. They didn't want to buy old world stuff when I started doing shows here in the 80s, and they don't want to buy it now. So I don't typically bring a lot of stuff to the regional shows, but I will bring the farm come Colubrid Fest. I guarantee it.
There we go.
You're going to love it.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thanks, Rob. This was fantastic.
My pleasure, guys. Anytime.
All righty. Well, we will definitely have you back on.
Absolutely.
Definitely need to talk about Russians.
Let's say a lot of species we can chat about.
Mollendorfi.
If I don't know it, I'll make it up.
There you go. All right. So, okay, people that want to find me, Zac Loughman on Facebook. You can obviously message us on the, I don't think I've ever said this before, the Colubrid and Colubroid Radio Facebook page. And then you can reach out to me on Instagram, Dr. Crawdad, and then email me directly. Just type in Zac Loughman to the Google, and you'll find all the ways to contact me. And so, Clint, people getting a hold of you, how do they go about doing that?
Several different ways. You can reach me at metazotics@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Metazotics. You can also find me personally on Facebook, Clint Bartley. But I can tell you, if you message Metazotics on Facebook, it's coming straight to my pocket. MetazoticsLLC on Instagram. As a reminder, if you use CC Radio as a coupon on checkout at metazotics.com, you will save 5%. And also wanted to remind, because we probably should have said this earlier, but Redline shipping.
Oh, yeah.
Just as a reminder for everyone, you can get $5 off of any package you ship through Redline by using CC Radio 5 as your coupon code when checking out with Redline. So just another little perk for being a listener, and a thank you from us and Redline.
All righty.
Yep.
And so with that, be it morning, afternoon, evening, or night, whatever time of day it is, hope you have a good one. Later.
Get your ass to Colubrid Fest.
There we go. I left that in.